I want to talk to you today about the power of your thoughts. We're going to start looking at our thinking a little bit closer. I want you to be more aware of your own thoughts. You don't have to believe everything you think. It's a quote by Robert Fulghum. It speaks to the fact that we make our way through the world observing things constantly. Our brain is taking in so much information, and we have thoughts that are just running through our brain. Some of them are repetitive thoughts. Many of those thoughts, most of those thoughts, we believe as truth, but really it's what we think about things. It's not all necessarily truth, but we don't take the time to take a look at it. The reason that's important is our thoughts create our feelings. Many times we think our feelings are created by circumstances around us. For example, we might say something like, he made me mad, or losing weight makes me happy. And we don't realize there's thoughts about those circumstances. There's thoughts about him or what he did or what he said that's actually what's making us mad. So everything in the world could be divided into 5 categories. First category is the circumstances, the things that we can't control in the world. We keep them very factual, neutral, there's no emotion attached to them. In other words, if going back to the he made me mad circumstance, a circumstance might be he didn't do the dishes when I asked him to, or it might be he said, and then you would put what he said in quotation marks, his actual words, not what you think they meant. Then we have a thought about that. We actually have like 60,000 thoughts per day. I have no idea how they measured them. We're unaware of most of the thoughts running through our head. They're just floating by, but they're just sentences in your mind. Then we have a feeling that comes from the thought. Most of us have not learned about our feelings. I know when I first started learning about coaching and getting coached, I realized I had a very limited feeling vocabulary. I had a very limited way of identifying what I was actually feeling. Feelings are simply a chemical reaction in your body. We also use the word emotion. So, for example, if you are feeling fear, you have some cortisol and adrenaline running through your body. If you're feeling love or affection for someone, you probably have a higher level of oxytocin going in your body. So, it's just something released by the thoughts that you're having. There's a chemical release in your body, and it creates your physical feeling. Then we have actions. We take actions from our thoughts. So if we're feeling sad, we do certain things as compared to if we're feeling motivated or determined. They're the things that we do or not do. And then we have results that come from that. These are the things we create from our actions. So this is the model. Circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result is the way of describing how things work in the world, how our brains work, how we can take action. It's called The Model by Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. You may hear these same concepts described in different words, different ways, but it's always described, the concept is still the same. So a circumstance happens in the world, we have a thought about it, that thought creates a feeling, and then we take action based on that feeling, which creates a result. So we're going to start this week. We'll go more into how this model works, but this week we're going to concentrate on the circumstance and the thought part of it, and then we'll build on it. So how do you look at your own thoughts? You can do what's called a thought download. This is basically dumping out all your thoughts on paper. You can start by just sitting down with pen and paper and write down what comes to mind. You can ask yourself, what are you thinking? You can look for like some journal prompts. Maybe you're getting ready to ask for a promotion. You could do a specific thought download on what am I thinking about the promotion, or what am I thinking about the meeting with my boss. But it's actually helpful just to do a general one, getting everything out of your head. Super helpful. We recommend that you write it with pen and paper. You can do digital, but there's something to be said for the connection between the hand writing and the brain. It's funny, I've been doing so many things digital over the last, I don't know, however many years we've been so digital in the world, that when I started doing brain dumps on paper, I actually would get writer's cramp because I wasn't used to writing other than, filling out a quick form or signing my name. But there is something that physically happens between your hand and your brain by doing it on paper. So I recommend you do it on paper. And if you're writing about a sensitive topic and you want to shred it or burn it afterwards, that's fine. But write everything down you're thinking. Don't edit it. That's one of my problems is I stop and kind of correct myself. I try to make it look more like a diary or a journal. This is just thoughts dumping onto the paper. Don't stop and edit, just get it out. Now you can see your thoughts. Now you've gotten them out of your head, separate from your brain, and it's like magic. Occasionally, actually often, um, you'll start to see some thoughts that surprise you. You might say, I didn't realize I was thinking that. Or that thought actually opened up a whole bunch of other thoughts that you didn't realize was happening or you didn't realize was connected. Or maybe when you read it, you're going to go, do I really believe that? Is that really what I believe? Um, then, once you've done that, you want to separate your thoughts and the facts, the circumstance. You're going to mark the facts. It's kind of fun to get a highlighter or to underline what is the actual facts. If you, let's just say you brain dumped 3 pages worth of thoughts on the paper and you underline the actual facts that you could prove in court, it's not very many. It's a very small percentage of what you wrote down. The rest is just thoughts and judgments about those facts. It's a very interesting exercise. And that alone is powerful, even without the whole rest of the model. So here's the power of this. We don't have power over the circumstance. I can't help it that he said XYZ. But we do have power over how we think about them. There's a quote about, the stimulus and the response, and there's a gap in between. The gap is where we have power. So once you understand this, you can catch your thought and pause before you react. Maybe you don't want to react the same way. Maybe you want to question whether you believe that thought, whether you had that thought right. I know sometimes I have said some things about how I remembered things in my childhood, and my mom has said, no, that wasn't how that happened. And I've had some misconceptions because I understood things wrong. Um, So remember, these thoughts are what's driving the rest of the model. These trickle down through the other steps into the results we're getting in our life. So if we like the results we're getting in our life and we want more of it, we can look at what thoughts are driving my success in this area. Or if we're not liking the results we're getting in our life, we can trace it back and figure out what thoughts am I having now and what can I maybe evaluate a different way of thinking. The other thing is our thoughts filter how we see the world. Your brain looks for proof of what you're thinking. What you're looking for is what you see more of. If you see yourself as a victim, your brain will keep pointing out to you all the ways that that's true. It works hard to give you proof that validates your thought that you are a victim. If you believe that the world is full of many wonderful things, your brain will point out all the wonderful things as proof. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where maybe you're wanting to buy a car and you think you want a red Corvette. I don't know, it can be any car. And you think nobody has a red Corvette. Like I'm going to be unique. And then all of a sudden, as you're shopping and you're researching about red Corvettes, you start seeing red Corvettes on the road. It's not that there are now more red Corvettes, it's that your brain is looking for what you've been thinking about. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do a thought download. It's really powerful to do this every single day. It's powerful in the morning. You can kind of clean out your brain before you start your day and think about how you want to approach your day more intentionally. You can do it at the end of the day to get rid of all the stuff you've been thinking, the things you're frustrated about. It's actually helpful before bedtime. Um, Once you write things down, your brain thinks you've dealt with them. And often this can be a good way to not have kind of looping thoughts about work or looping thoughts about what happened in the day because you've dealt with them. Once you do a thought download, you want to separate the thoughts versus the facts. If you're in the Flourishing Nurses course, I'd like you to post in the group, or in the Facebook group. Or if you are not on Facebook, you can send me an email if you need help with this, or you want some examples, or you have questions. And then once you see all the things that are your thoughts, evaluate what thoughts you want to keep and what thoughts are worth working on changing. You might even start to notice some themes if after you do this day after day. You might realize, oh, all these few thoughts actually relate to a bigger thought or a bigger belief. Maybe that maybe you're thinking you're not worthy, or you're having judgment about yourself or about another person. And so this is a way of kind of coaching yourself. You can really do a lot of work just by getting your thoughts out of your head and taking a kind of critical look at them and pulling them apart from facts. So next we're going to talk about feelings.